So I think the G20 being the venue for signing an eventual trade deal has been out the window for some time. As we've seen tensions escalate, I do think we're likely to see a repeat of the pattern we saw around the G20 last year, which is when tensions were rising, the U.S. raised tariffs, threatened to raise tariffs further, and then once Presidents Xi and Trump met at the G20, this time in Buenos Aires, are now going to use this as a venue to jumpstart negotiations again. So if I was an investor in either the U.S., Chinese, or third-party markets, I'd be looking at the G20 as a natural venue for the presidents to agree to resume negotiations and maybe walk back tensions a little bit, but not as a place for an actual agreement.
Okay, so as an investor, what do you do in the lead up to the G20, which is still some weeks away? And then I guess your investment strategy depends on the outcome of the commencement or the re-pickup of those talks at the G20. So what does your investment strategy, let's start off with, look like up until the G20 takes place in a few weeks' time in Japan?
Up until the G20, or up until we start seeing a de-escalation in tensions, I think investors need to be looking at third-party markets. So that's looking outside the U.S. and China specifically, and from an equity strategy, looking at companies or countries that could individually benefit from acceleration of supply chains out of China or from some redirection of imports or exports from either of these markets, as well as countries that have a more fundamentally strong growth story that doesn't have as much headline risk involved. Now, once tensions start to de-escalate or negotiations really commence again in earnest, I think investors are still going to have to contend with extremely volatile equity prices from both the US and China, because negotiations, as we have seen, tend to generate a lot of headlines. And that creates a lot of risk for investors who are trying to day-to-day price in moves by either side.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.